I'm Dustin Harder, and this is Keep On Cooking. Hello, and welcome to Keep On Cooking, the only podcast dedicated to plant-based cookbooks. I'm your host, Dustin Harder, and some people have resting beach face. I have a full-on active disaster aura, and here he is, the man who deals with my disastrous ways. David Rositi is opening up shop with me today. How are you, dear?
I am good. Wait, was that like a read on me or you?
Me?
Okay.
Yeah, I've never read you in these. I used to. Now I don't. Now I don't.
didn't know. I was like,
You're too
'cause I-
sensitive for that.
I am sensitive. Muy sensitivo.
Muy sensitivo. Speaking of muy sensitivo, today I'm going to share my interview with Linda Tyler. She's not sensitive. The book talks about anti-inflammatory recipes. That's what
Perfect.
inflammation is, a sensitive situation. So today I'm going to
It
share my
is.
interview with Linda Tyler as we chat through her book, The Plant-Based Anti-Inflammatory Cookbook, delicious whole food recipes to reduce inflammation and promote health. But before we get into that, what's coming up, David?
What's coming up? On the horizon, coming out October 7th, 2025, and available for pre-order now is Vegana Italiana, traditional Italian, the plant-based way, by Tara Punzone with Gene Stone.
Ever wish you could whip up vegan versions of fresh cheese ravioli or meatballs? As the owner and chef behind the first 100% plant-based Italian restaurant in the United States, Tara Punzone knows how to transform classic Italian staples into delicious vegan dishes without sacrificing any flavor. Growing up in a big Italian family in New York, food was always at the heart. Is it Punzone or Punzones?
I don't know.
What do you think? Italian,
it could
Rossetti.
It could be either. Punzone.
Okay, we'll say the heart of the Punzone's community and gathering. I'll ask her because listen, she's going to be on her debut cookbook. Vegana Italiana offers more than 100 vegan Italian recipes inspired by her family's meals and fan favorites from her Los Angeles-based restaurant Pura Vida.
And did you ever eat there?
I did. I've eaten there once with
Oh.
our dear sweet friend Kelly from Kelly's Croutons. Actually, her and I
nice.
enjoyed a delicious dinner there. And
Sounds
Kelly,
delicious.
I believe, is gluten-free, which is so funny since she is like the queen of croutons. But we had, I think there was a gluten-free, I think we had pasta and pizza that was gluten-free, and it was
Oh,
all very, very
all
delicious.
right.
Everything there was so good, and everyone had been talking about it, so I was very excited to dine. And like I said, we've also got her scheduled to be on the podcast to chat through this new book, so you will get to hear from the author herself on Keep On Cooking, and I'll learn how to pronounce her name from her herself. I'm looking forward to chatting through Vegana Italiana and Tara, and the book looks like a stunner. So if it's as good as the food I had at the restaurant, we are in for a treat, my friends. So check out Vegana Italiana, available for pre-order now, and keep a lookout for her interview here on Keep On Cooking.
My vote is going to be Punzone.
Punzone.
Because Punzoni, I think, would have to be an I normally.
Oh,
for
okay.
Italianos.
Okay. Heard.
As Rossetti.
Yes. See.
So that's my vote. We'll
Okay.
see what happens. And no reason not to know something.
No reason not to know something.
We are looking at the Plant-Based Inflammatory Cookbook today. And I feel over the last decade is when we have started hearing more and more about inflammation as like an issue, a chronic issue for some people. But we were curious, when was inflammation something that popped up in the medical world? So we asked Google.
And Google said systemic inflammation wasn't discovered at a single moment, of course, but gradually understood over time, with major breakthroughs occurring in the late 20th century through the study of the immune responses. By the early 2000s, it was widely recognized as a key factor in many chronic diseases like heart disease, diabetes, and Alzheimer's.
So it sounds kind of like has been more prevalent in the medical conversation over the last decade or like 20 years.
Yeah. And here to tell us more about this subject matter is Linda Tyler, a lifelong cooking enthusiast, educator, writer, a coach, and a PhD. She brings a passion for innovative whole plant dishes to everything she does. Linda teaches plant-based cooking at Portland and Mount Hood community colleges, where she also offers one-on-one plant-based lifestyle coaching.
Linda is a frequent guest on Chef AJ Live, has published recipes and articles for magazines and websites, has demonstrated recipes on local Portland TV, and is a longtime content volunteer for Dr. Michael Greger's nutritionfacts.org.
Linda shares recipes and answers to questions about plant-based diets on her website, graciousvegan.com. She uses no oil, refined grains, or refined sugars in her recipes. She is passionate about the benefits of a healthy plant-based diet and shares science-based findings in her classes, one-on-one sessions, and her blog, Common Questions.
In her debut cookbook, the Plant-Based Anti-Inflammatory Cookbook, delicious whole food recipes to reduce inflammation and promote health, Linda shares how systemic inflammation can play a dangerous role in chronic diseases, many types of cancer, and even weight gain. The good news is that eating a plant-based diet is especially helpful for calming the immune system. The Plant-Based Anti-Inflammatory Cookbook delivers 80 plant-based recipes centered around foods known to fight against inflammation. Ginger, and we probably know some of these: ginger, turmeric, berries, garlic, citrus, and high fiber foods such as legumes and whole grains.
That word's so fun. Legumes.
Legumes.
Legumes. Linda draws inspiration from classic dishes and global cuisines, adding a creative twist and ensuring a whole food approach without highly processed ingredients. This book has easy to follow recipes, meal planning ideas, and make ahead tips that allow eating more plants, especially anti-inflammatory superstar ingredients, feasible and delicious. Here she is to tell us all about it. It's Linda Tyler. She's a lifelong cooking enthusiast, educator, writer, and coach, bringing a passion for innovative, whole, plant-based dishes to everything she does. Please welcome Linda Tyler to the Keep On Cooking podcast. Thank you for being here, Linda.
Hi, thank you. It's great to be here.
Yes, it's great to see you. We're going to jump right into your icebreaker question. What's a TV show or movie you've watched multiple times?
Okay, ironically enough, my favorite movie that I watch every February 2nd is Groundhog Day.
There you go. I love it.
It's my favorite comedy movie, and I love it every year.
We're every listeners, we are I don't know when this will come out, so I should tell you we are so close to that day right now. So
Yeah.
that's why it's
Yeah.
a wonderful mention today.
Yeah.
Mine's a little off the beaten path. A movie I've watched a gazillion times. I watched it a ton when I was a kid, and now I mean I've still watched it as an adult, but Grease 2.
Oh,
The sequel to Grease, which
that's great.
some people don't know it even exists, but it does, and Michelle Pfeiffer stars in it, and it is a joyous romp and bad movie, but excellent in so many ways, you know?
Oh, I'll check
So
it
I was
out.
gonna say, well, yeah, the last conversation I had with somebody and they said, I'll check it out. I was like, oh yeah, do it. I saw them later and they were like, I want that hour and a half back. And I was like, sorry. But it still brings me so much joy. So you never know. You never know.
Right, you don't. No,
Well,
I've long given up hoping I agree with somebody about a movie.
Yes, correct.
You
You're right.
cannot predict.
Yeah, we all have our own taste, you know.
Mhm.
Maybe you
Yeah.
will love Grease too. It's
Yeah,
possible, you
that's
know.
right.
Well, Linda, you have published recipes and articles for magazines and websites and demonstrated your fabulous recipes on Portland TV stations. And you share recipes and answers to questions about plant-based diets on your website, graciousvegan.com. But when did you get into cooking and when did it all turn vegan for you?
Well, I have been cooking since I was a little girl. My mother made homemade meals all the time. You know, we went out to dinner like 3 times a year when I was a kid. So there was a lot of cooking, a lot of chores in the kitchen. And then I really took to cooking and baking with her. And so I was cooking all the time. I became a vegetarian in college. My first cookbook was Diet for a Small Planet
Okay.
with the complementary proteins, Frances Moore LaFay. And then I moved on to the Moosewood cookbook in graduate school. And, the rest is history. Then about, I guess it was technically 30 years later, I became a vegan after reading articles about dairy farms and egg farms and how cruelly the animals are treated on those farms. And then about 5 years after that, which is about 10 years ago, I went to a conference about what I thought was going to be all about animal welfare, but there were all these speakers about plant-based diets and how effective, healthy plant-based eating was for your health. So I said, hey, that's amazing. So I tweaked more toward the healthy plant-based, the whole food plant-based. And by that time I was transitioning out of 8 to 5 work, office work. So I started my website and then got to Portland, started teaching here. And so that's how it all evolved to where I am today.
Oh, that's awesome. And
Yeah.
my next question is always, what was your first vegan cookbook? But it sounds like, so Diet for a Small Planet, is that vegetarian? Is
That's
it vegan?
vegetarian, yeah.
And Moosewed's vegetarian too.
Vegetarian for
So
sure.
I'll take
There's
the
not that much
vegetarian
in there I
answer.
can make anymore
Yeah,
without
right.
adapting.
Well, but a lot of people say Moosewood was one of their first, veggie forward books that they had. So
Yeah.
that's a common answer. I actually, because of that, I just ordered it recently. It showed up. It's somewhere on this bookshelf behind me.
Okay. Well, make sure you get the original. Not she revised it at one
That's what
point.
I had to keep looking around. I think I
Good.
did get the original because I
Good.
did see there were multiple variations of it.
Yes.
Do you remember, did you have a vegan cookbook that you
Vegan.
first
My first,
kind of
I
fell in love with?
know I had Veganomicon. That was one
Yeah,
of my first. I think
great.
Isa Moskowitz was pretty early on in
Yep.
there. Um, I think that was one of the first ones.
That
Yeah.
sounds about right.
Yeah.
That's a good
The
first one to
timing.
have. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Her recipes are a lot of fun.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Well, let's get into your book, The Plant-Based Anti-Inflammatory Cookbook, Delicious Whole Food Recipes to Reduce Inflammation and Promote Health. In the front matter of the book, you talk at length about cooking to calm inflammation, lowering chronic inflammation through diet, making plant-based anti-inflammatory cooking work for you, and you have a whole grains cooking guide even. So what foods typically, or ingredients, I should say, what ingredients typically cause inflammation, and what foods are good for anti-inflammatory cooking? That's a big double question, I know, but
Right.
sort of an overview if you can, if there's some major
Yeah.
points to hit.
Yeah. So essentially, inflammation is our immune system reacting, or in some cases, overreacting to stimuli, which uh, can be a lot of things: smoke, pollution, stress, but also diet. Diet can be a huge trigger of our inflammation of our immune system. And so when our immune system responds, that's what inflammation is. So saturated fats really bother the immune system. Uh, the all the free radicals that come about from processed ingredients like refined grains, refined sugars, and then there are certain bacteria products in meats and dairy called endotoxins that really set off the immune system. So in general, animal products contain saturated fats and endotoxins that can set off inflammation. So that whole family of foods.
Sure.
And then sugars, white flour can also set it off. So most processed foods, most restaurant food, takeout, unfortunately, are centered around those ingredients. And
Hmm.
so people, if you really want to start to lower your inflammation, it means cooking whole foods at home with a bias towards plants. And there are certain foods in the plant kingdom that research has shown really do help to lower inflammation. So things like garlic and turmeric and ginger and spices and all the dark red, purple, black fruits, but also black grains, black beans,
Hmm.
kidney beans, small red beans, berries, eggplant. Don't peel them because that purple peel has those anthocyanins. So,
The anthocyanins, good old
right.
blueberries too, blueberries as well,
Yes,
right? Big on
blueberries,
anthocyanins. Yep.
raspberries,
Hmm.
yes.
Yep.
So I feature a lot of berries in the cookbook because berries are so good for you, and cherries as well.
Mm,
And ginger in everything you can think of.
sure.
And red apples, the peel on red apples has those same anthocyanins. But then also fiber is super good for calming inflammation because the gut bacteria feed on fiber, and they produce the short chain fatty acids that really clean up the cells and help to calm the immune system. So fiber, cruciferous vegetables, all those red, dark purple vegetables, and then the garlic, the turmeric, red onions, ginger. So I think I list like a couple dozen anti-inflammatory superstar ingredients, and then all the recipes contain at least one, usually several of those ingredients. Yeah.
Oh, so good. All the ingredients you listed are all ingredients I love. So I'm ready. Yeah. Let's dig into these recipes. You start with breakfast, brunch, and beverages. I gotta tell you, and Linda, we've talked about this, but listeners, my husband's recovering from a surgery, and so I have been looking at anti-inflammatory foods. Actually, we had fresh cherry juice in the house for him. We did your orange spice granola in here. We just finished the batch of it, and I'm so sad that it's gone, but it was so delicious with the orange zest in there. Perfect pop of flavor. And so many great things in here. Brunch worthy vegetable scramble, hummus toast and variations with that, roasted breakfast potatoes, berry yogurt, and soft crumble parfaits, that orange spice granola, gingerbread steel cut oats and pears. What's a couple favorite breakfast items for you from here?
Well, in terms of a regular thing, I have the Daily Habit berry smoothie bowl almost every day. It's usually not quite as fancy as my photo in the cookbook, but I do mix up, a big blender jar full. So I have like 4, I freeze 3 and use one. So I get at least a half cup of berries a day. Yeah, and so if I have a little bit of yogurt or a little bit of granola to put on it, I do. If I don't, I just, eat it up. So that's one in terms of every day. I love the creamy turmeric tea, and I've heard from a lot of people that they like that tea a lot. And of course, that has turmeric, which is so good for you. And I love anything with the gingerbread flavor. So those gingerbread steel cut oats are something I come back to a lot. I just love the gingerbread flavor with the molasses and the maple syrup.
Oh, there's that matcha mango freezer prep smoothie. So is everything prepped in it, and then you're able to just put it into the blender frozen?
Exactly. You can make several at a time, and just put the mango chunks, the bananas, the spinach, even the ginger powder, the matcha tea powder. Put those all in individual containers in the freezer, and then just grab them and add some water, and you're good to go.
Nice. That's very good.
Yeah, so now, that's a nice batch cooking thing.
Creamy turmeric tea, is that creamy in texture, or do we just get sort of like a creamy mouthfeel from it?
It's creamy from some non-dairy milk. You add the non-dairy milk.
I see. Okay. Delicious.
And somehow the powdered turmeric helps as well with the milk. It makes it creamy. And you can use, like, if you have a mini latte spinner, you can froth it, and it comes out even closer to like a latte.
Love it. So good. Next, we jump into salads here. I love myself a good salad. People love to say vegans just eat salad, and we all know that's not true. However, that doesn't mean we don't love a good salad. And listeners, Linda has you covered here. There's a fruit salad with a hint of ginger, cherry Waldorf salad, grapefruit and avocado salad, eggless egg salad, lemony farro and bean salad, colorful coleslaw and raisins. Is there a salad in this chapter that's been a go-to for you, something that might be you still make as regular on rotation?
Yeah, I mean, I like the Italian chopped salad with sun-dried tomato dressing. I really like sun-dried tomatoes. And so I do come back to that. Sometimes I don't use all the parts of the salad, but I love a good dressing that I can put in a pint-sized jar and just keep using and using. So that is one of my favorites. In terms of the cherries are only available a couple months a year. So when they are fresh cherries are available, I love doing the cherry Waldorf.
Delicious. It's
Yeah.
interesting you said the Italian chopped salad with sun-dried tomato dressing, because I was eyeing that because I also love sun-dried tomatoes. Just like they're so robust in flavor, and then you make a
Exactly.
dressing out of it, and it's so good. You also have apple and greens with candied walnuts in here, chopped salad with orange vinaigrette. So many great options, everybody. And this takes us into soups and stews. So one of my favorites, because I love the cozy comfort of it. So let's say, Linda, we have a very good friend who's sick. What is a soup that you would go to in here to drop off at their doorstep and say, hey, I left you some love on your doorstep. Feel better?
um, I would probably make the Moroccan chickpea soup, because it has lentils and chickpeas, of course, and then it has some noodles, a little bit of pasta, and then some tomatoes, and then it has that Moroccan aroma with a little bit of cinnamon and turmeric.
Yeah.
And so it's not it has a little bit of brothiness to it, which is nice when you have a cold, but it's thick and comforting and warm, and I would probably make that.
That's delicious, but oh my gosh, listeners, there is a Mossman peanut noodle soup in
Yeah.
here. Come on, so yummy. Tomato and roasted red pepper soup, Mexican-inspired lentil soup, white bean soup with rosemary, creamy wild rice and mushroom soup. There's even a Thai-inspired creamy sweet potato and lentil soup. So many delicious things. Cream of spinach soup, creamy broccoli soup. You give us a vegetable broth powder in here, and this takes us into the whole grains chapter. Now, you do in the beginning of the book, you've got the section in there that is it's a guide for whole grain cooking, right? So, and
Yeah.
then you've got a whole section here dedicated to whole grains. So tell us why whole grains are important for anti-inflammatory cooking.
Well, first they have a lot of fiber, and as I said, the fiber, soluble and insoluble, especially the soluble, feeds the gut bacteria, and when they are happy, you are happy. So, first and foremost is the fiber, and then grains have a lot of good minerals and vitamins as well, so they're important. And in general, grains, people don't give enough credit to grains provide us with glucose, which is what our brains run on and our muscles run on. And
Mhm.
we need glucose. And if you eat whole grains, those are going to digest slowly, go through your system in a way that gives you that slow burn, that
Yeah.
regular, it's not going to spike up and down. So grains are really, really good for you.
You've got one of my favorites in here, and this sounds so good. Everybody, garlicky polenta with gremolata. I am so here for that. Just it sounds like it's just going to be a burst of flavors and something that
Yeah.
you would like even serve to people maybe at a dinner party, and they're going to be so happy with it. What's a favorite in here for you?
Well, I love the orange infused couscous salad. That's so good, because you get that orange flavor, but it's a savory dish. And I love the texture of couscous. And
Mhm.
Trader Joe's carries whole wheat couscous.
Oh,
So
great.
that's what I use, and it's easy to find there. The one that took the longest to get right was the curried amaranth patties, because amaranth is kind of a tough grain to
Sure.
use well. It gets really gummy if you just cook it up by itself. And you can use it maybe with steel cut oats in a hot cereal. But I found a way, if I mixed it with other ingredients, including beans and things, it makes a really good, it helps bind these patties together. And
Nice.
they're really quite delicious.
Okay. And that's
Yeah.
what this photo is right here, right? Right to the left of
Yes.
the
This
yeah, yeah,
one.
yeah. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. And
When I first
they
turned to the
hold
page, I
together.
thought I was like, "Ooh, are those cookies?" And then I was like, "No, that's those amaranth pods."
You're
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Such good stuff. Freekeh salad with roasted sweet potatoes, and got that Spanish brown rice and savory quinoa cakes. So lots of options for everybody to get their whole grain cooking on at home, including that
Mhm.
guide to whole grain cooking if you just want to play around and explore on your own. And then you've
Right.
got a wonderful chapter for us that is simply called vegetables, making vegetables the star, which I'm always a fan of. So what are some of your favorite ways to prepare vegetables? What have you given the home cook in this chapter here so they can start appreciating vegetables at home?
Yeah, so I love to roast vegetables, but I don't cook with oil because it's a processed food. It's not a whole food. So I share my way of roasting vegetables that has tahini in the mix,
Nice.
which helps get a little crispiness, a little brown, and really adds a nice flavor with some other seasonings. And then I actually love to puree vegetables. One year I was part of a co-op farm, and just every week during the fall we got dark leafy greens, just
Sure.
bags full. And so I even got tendonitis. I was prepping so many vegetables,
Ah,
so many green vegetables, and I cooked them, steamed them, and then blended them with a
okay.
little bit of nutritional yeast and a couple others.
Mm,
And then you can eat so much kale or mustard
yeah.
greens or collard greens that way. It's super healthy. It's a great way to use a lot of dark leafy greens and get them in your diet. You can also, freeze that puree
Yeah.
in little containers and just keep eating them. But you can use a lot of dark leafy greens and get a lot of good out of that one.
That's a
So
great way to go about that. I think, one of the biggest complaints we hear when it comes to getting your greens in are people like, oh, yeah, but all the chewing, especially when they talk about
oh
kale and stuff. And I'm like, make yourself a smoothie and you're going to sing
yeah.
a different story. You get that kale in, you'll get it in. It's no problem.
Yes.
So a
Yes.
pureed option is a great way to do that as
Yeah.
well. You even have baked spring rolls in here, pickled red onions, creamy pureed greens that you mentioned, stir fried sugar snap peas, red cabbage with walnuts and
That
olives.
that red cabbage with walnuts and olives is surprisingly good.
Tell me about it.
It's braised red cabbage. You slice it pretty thin, and you're going to braise it not for a long time, but enough to get it to be soft, and then adding an unpeeled apple sliced pretty thin, and then Kalamata olives, which of course taste good, but they like weirdly go so well with cabbage and apples, and then some sage and other seasonings really brings it together. I use it as a side dish at Thanksgiving. A lot of people like
Ooh, I was
this.
gonna say people probably eat that right up, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, the sweet potato cakes are great at Thanksgiving. I make them kind of small. People can take two or three as a side dish or an entree. Those are really good.
That's great. I was also speaking of sweet potatoes, I'm eyeballing these spicy sweet potato chipotle quesadillas with
Yeah.
guacamole. I'm here for that.
Yes. Yeah. Those are very easy. You shred the sweet potatoes,
Yeah.
and so they cook really fast in the skillet.
Oh, great. Okay, that's lovely. So
Mhm.
good. So
And they go so
everybody,
well with chipotle flavor.
yes, so many options for you to get your vegetable cooking on at home. You have no excuses. This takes us into main dishes. What's something from main dishes? Say you're having a dinner party, guest over for a dinner party. What's something you could wow your guests with from this chapter?
Probably what I would make is the baked penne with red peppers and ricotta, which is
Mm.
the one that the picture on the
Oh
front of the
yeah.
chapter, because everybody loves a baked pasta, and because this uses a plant-based ricotta, which is mostly tofu, but you wouldn't know it. So if you water saute some red bell peppers and some mushrooms, and then add marinara and other seasonings, and then that baked ziti or baked penne, and then swirl in the lasagna, and then of course top it with a plant-based parmesan.
Mm.
Super good. And you bake it and it gets golden and super good. It's hard not to like it.
Yeah, hard not to like it. And listeners, lots of options in here. Kung Pao soy curls. So
Oh,
yummy.
really
Are you a big
good.
fan of soy curls?
I am.
Yeah.
I just taught a class on soy curls last
Nice.
night. Yeah. Trying to get more converts in the world. Yeah.
I haven't really gone. I've used them a few times and I like them. I like them a
Yeah.
lot. I just
Yeah.
haven't ever. It's like I haven't had the moment yet, and I know it will happen to me where I start. The obsession is there, where I'm like, ooh, and I want to use them for this and this and this and this.
Yes.
I just haven't had the time to explore. I just got TVP like nuggets recently, which I had
Oh,
never seen. So
I
I'm
haven't
gonna
either.
explore those more. TVP's never been my favorite thing, so I'm curious to see how I feel about these. There's so many
Yeah,
alternatives out there
there
to play
are.
around with, but
Yeah.
soy curls is definitely one that I know so many people enjoy, and I really haven't gone
Yeah,
down
the
that
kung
road.
pao and the bell pepper and soy curl fajitas both use a
Yeah.
similar method, which is to create a really flavorful coating,
Mhm.
light coating, dip them in, scoop them out, and put them on a sheet pan with parchment paper and roast them at a pretty high
Great.
temperature. So you
Okay.
don't need the oil. You don't need to, glug, glug, glug oil in a skillet. You can get the same effect in the oven. So you might want to try one of those.
I think I'm gonna try that Kung Pao soy curls is what
Yeah.
I'm going
Yep.
after.
Yeah.
And then for those who aren't into soy curls yet, with me,
Yes.
as a family listeners, we're gonna try the Kung Pao soy curls. But if you don't have your soy curls yet, you've got vegetable tikka masala curry in here, asparagus with orzo and breadcrumbs, pasta with arugula and creamy lemon sauce. Ooh, that sounds great. I love
Yes.
tossing. I don't necessarily like an arugula salad on its own. I don't have a hate for arugula. I like
Right.
it. But when it's like in something or it's tossed on like a flatbread or something, it's so good when it's
Yeah.
sort of like accompanying something else.
Yeah.
Um what else we got? Pasta fagioli in here, garlicky cherry tomatoes with angel hair pasta. Love angel hair pasta. Got black bean burgers and stuffed bell pepper rings. Now we're moving into sweets, the final chapter
Mhm.
here. And
Mhm.
say one of our listeners just buys this book right now. They get it. What is the first recipe you would tell them to make from the sweets section?
I would say if they wanted something on the simple side, I would go for the walnut cocoa nib cookies because
Mm,
they taste kind of like shortbread, because there's quite a few walnuts in there. And
sure.
so you don't really need butter. But those cocoa nibs add that nice crunch and that nice chocolate flavor. And they're just simple but very good. And then if you were feeling a little more, um, if you're feeling a little more like, okay, I can do more ambitious, I would probably go for the orange ginger polenta cake
I'm glad you mentioned that.
because
Oh,
I kept hearing once oranges and citrus
uh-huh.
I found out that they were anti-inflammatory. I said, well, what can I make? And
Yeah.
I think it was my hair cutter said, oh, there's a James Beard recipe where he boils the oranges for an hour and uses the whole orange. I said, what?
Yeah.
and of course, then I found it. You can find any recipe by
Yep.
somebody like that. And it had like 9 egg whites or
Of
something. And
course.
I was like, oh. And
Yeah.
so, but then I just kept noodling and it actually, then I could use a whole grain polenta,
Yeah.
and the polenta just absorbs all that orange juice and it just becomes wonderful. And then enough ginger complements that orange flavor and it just
Mm.
comes out. It's not a light, crumbly cake, it's a dense cake.
Which it's interesting you say that because when I'm looking at it now, I'm glad you mentioned it because I've had my eye on it since I opened up this chapter now because it does look like it's light and crumbly
It
actually.
does,
So it's
and it's
interesting to
not.
hear you say that.
Yeah, it is. It does. Even when you look at it in person, I mean, this
Yeah.
photo reflects what it looks like,
How
but it's
funny.
pretty dense.
Yeah.
But not.
Well,
But it's moist.
yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, speaking of dense though, I see this year-round fruitcake. So let's talk about fruitcake a little bit. Now,
Oh yes.
was fruitcake something in your life before this? I've had this discussion with so many people where we kind of remember fruitcake as kids at Christmas, and then we're like, but nobody ate it. And like, where has it been now all these years? I feel like I haven't seen it in so long. And then this Christmas, I was like, well, I think I'm just going to like make a bunch next year and just like, give
Yeah.
them because isn't that the thing people used to make? Like they used to give
Yeah.
out whole fruitcakes to people as like, here's your fruitcake. That's my gift for the mail person or something,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. 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 It did. Yeah. I mean, yeah. We used to get is there someplace in Texas, Maine or Texas, where they make a lot of fruitcake?
I think so.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
people would
Uh-huh.
send us that to my dad, business associates. So I remember that with the, neon cherries and
Yes.
candied fruit. And so it's like, okay, that I don't want that anymore. I remember in college, somebody shared fruitcake with me that had a lot of sweetened condensed milk in it. It was almost like a
Oh
fudge or a
gosh.
candy. So that
Yeah.
was good. And
Yeah.
then I saw this article in, of all places, the Wall Street Journal about 20 years ago, like the best fruitcake. And it was by a professor from Oregon State University. I looked it
Okay.
up and I made it, and it was super good just using dried fruit. But it literally did have 10 eggs in it. So at that point, I was vegan and I veganized it. So I used vegan butter and flax seeds, but flax seeds are not great for actually helping things cohere really
Sure.
well. So
Yeah.
since then, I've learned chia seeds, even ground chia seeds,
Yeah.
and so I keep reinventing this recipe, trying to preserve the best parts, but it's still wonderful. It's all dried fruit and tons of spices, which of course have so many antioxidants. So it's my humble contribution to the fruitcake world.
I love it. That's great. It's interesting you say that about the flax egg. My cookbooks, I think all of them have used flax egg if I use for baking or something, right? And recently I've gone back to Bob's Red Mill egg
Oh,
replacer.
really?
Yeah, like I don't know why. I just kind of had someone the last two times I made my cinnamon rolls, I got comments like, well, and this was like for family or friends, and they're like, well, what are the specs in it? And I was kind of like, oh, I don't want to explain like
Oh,
get
I
into the
see.
flax
Yeah,
meal of it
right.
all. So then I made it with the egg replacer, which is really just like tapioca starch and a couple other things like that, right?
Yeah,
Um, because I'm not talking like some massive like egg replacer, everyone that's like you can make scrambled eggs with or something. I'm talking about like the actual like starch of it.
right.
But I used it in the cinnamon rolls the last two times and like it worked like a
Really
charm.
good.
So and I
Yeah.
haven't really ventured much into the chia
Well,
as
what
I
I found
can
with
now.
this recipe is I couldn't like have the pieces of fruit and the nuts
Uh-huh.
chopped really rough. They couldn't be big pieces. They had to be smaller pieces to stay together. But once I introduced a little
Sure.
more
Okay.
chia, I mean, and then if you
Whole different
sometimes
deal.
I've tested recipes with ground chia and I've had to back away and go back
Yeah.
to chia seeds because it's like
Yeah.
glue,
Yeah.
dense glue, and that's not too good either.
Yeah.
So chia right now is my
What you go to right
I
now?
have a box of energy. Do you remember
I
energy egg
do.
replacer?
Yeah. There was a bakery I worked at like 10 years ago where we used that and
Yeah.
everything. And
And
I
then
remember,
the bobs I
yep,
think they're similar.
they're
But yeah,
similar. Yeah.
they're yeah, so there's not a one size fits all in my
Right.
opinion on
Right.
egg replacing. So
Yeah, for sure. But I'm glad these work in these recipes. You found your chia balance there for that. So
yes,
that's
yes,
lovely.
exactly.
And so many other lovely sweets in here that everyone needs to check out. Listen to these: raspberry cheesecake with raspberry sauce, cherry and ice cream with raw brownie bites, walnut and date caramel tart, yes, apple crisp with dates and oats, no bake cherry cookie balls, walnut cocoa nib cookies, and orange cherry cardamom bars. Just really fantastic stuff to really satisfy anyone's sweet tooth, really. And my friends, that is the Plant-Based Anti-Inflammatory Cookbook, delicious whole food recipes to reduce inflammation and promote health. But now, Linda, I ask you, what is your book brag about this book? Something you're most proud of when it comes to this book?
I think the thing I'm most proud of is that I brought together, research around inflammation. I feel like I explained what inflammation what is in my first chapter. I was actually confused about like what is it? Even after going to the internet and reading what is inflammation, it's like, but what is it? And I just had to keep rewriting that chapter finally to explain it to myself and then explain it to others. So I feel like that's a contribution on its own. And then to bring together the anti-inflammatory ingredients is a contribution. And then, of course, to offer recipes that use those anti-inflammatory superstars.
Yes, that's great. That's a great book, Bragg. And let me tell you, not only have you you've explained inflammation in this beginning of the book, but earlier on, when I started talking to you, my follow-up question at the beginning was, well, tell us what inflammation is. But I didn't even have to ask it because you gave such a great little summary and soundbite right away of what inflammation is. So you're really helping everybody understand it more. And of
I
course,
hope
giving these
so.
fabulous recipes to back it up. And now, are you ready for your rapid fire round of questions?
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yes, here we go. What is your favorite kind of muffin?
I would say bran muffin.
Nice. And most used emoji?
Probably the wink one.
Okay.
Yeah.
The wink with the tongue out? Or just the wink? Just the wink?
No, the more conservative,
Okay. All right. Okay.
the subtle wink.
I saved the one with the tongue out for when I'm really being sassy, basically.
Right, exactly.
What's your favorite pasta shape?
That's a good one. I think that the bow ties.
Yes, very
Yes.
good one. Have you ever been told you look like someone famous, and who?
Well, when I was on Chef AJ's show, evidently those live viewers voted that I looked most like Sigourney Weaver.
There you go. All
Yeah,
right,
I'll
I see
take it. I
Yep,
will
okay.
take it.
That's nice. That's
Yeah.
nice. Is there a food or ingredient you used to majorly dislike that now you love?
Hmm. I think kale wouldn't be like majorly disliked, but definitely something I wasn't like,
Yeah,
I wasn't
yeah.
thrilled about. And now I really do like kale. I buy it every week and
I
try to
think
eat it.
I think I'm on the same boat with you there. I think
Yeah,
same. I always just kind of like, yeah, whatever. I was never like, some people get real sassy about their kale dislike. They're like, oh, kale. I'm like, calm down a
right.
little bit. Okay. But I was never like that. But now I certainly I have it in my home every week, just like you.
Right.
So I get
Yep.
that.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite tradition or holiday?
I think Thanksgiving is probably my favorite holiday. I just love planning. Okay, this year, what am I going to make?
Sure.
And I finally cracked, in my opinion, the pumpkin pie code
There
with
you
a
go.
healthy version of pumpkin pie. So I'm always proud to make that.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And speaking of pie, what did you bake last?
What did I bake last? I made some Irish soda bread the other day.
Delicious.
Very good.
What is your favorite way? Do you like popcorn? And if you do, what's your favorite way to season
Oh,
popcorn?
I love popcorn. I
Same.
love popcorn. I was at the movies the other day and it was National Popcorn Day. So any size for $5.
You're like, great.
Yeah. So I am a nutritional yeast person.
Yeah.
Popcorn, little spritz of water, and then nutritional yeast and a little
Nice.
salt. Yep.
Okay, great.
Yep.
And do you prefer sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise.
And books or audiobooks?
Books.
What is your cell phone wallpaper?
My cell phone wallpaper is Yosemite.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. No, Yellowstone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Did you
Yeah.
take that picture?
I did. This
Great.
is in the what's it called? The Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone with the
Okay.
beautiful waterfalls. Yes.
Lovely. Oh, that's
Yeah.
lovely. And your last one here. Do you like dancing? And if you do, are you a good dancer?
I like dancing, but I don't dance much. I play the piano.
Oh, there you go. Okay. That's
So
your,
I'm musical, but
your fingers are dancing then.
yes, there you
That's
go.
great. Well,
Yeah.
you did it. That's your rapid fire round of questions.
All
So
right.
good.
So fun.
Linda, please tell everyone where they can find you on social media and the internet.
So it's Gracious Vegan everywhere. So graciousvegan.com and then some variation of Gracious Vegan and Gracious Vegan Kitchen on YouTube and then Instagram and Facebook.
Great. Easy to find across the board. And listeners, the Plant-Based Anti-Inflammatory Cookbook, delicious whole food recipes to reduce inflammation and promote health is available to purchase now everywhere books are sold. Linda, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate you taking the time to be here.
Thank you so much. It's been so fun. I really have enjoyed talking to you, Dustin.
This has been a Muzzy Cat production.